passing yards, favorite versus the field. We've got Justin Herbert is at plus 550. Tom Brady's at plus 700. What do we like in our making some money here, looking to the future?
Yeah, I think both of those names are intriguing, but I'd probably take the field between those two. You have Brady, who is yes, he was one of the tops in the NFL in passing yards from a season ago. I just think their division is so winnable that there's going to be plenty of times where even when he's stomping on other teams and putting up the monster numbers, that they'll still have to hold him back a little bit and they'll just run it out in the fourth quarter. I don't think they're a team that necessarily needs to throw a ton. And so even a plus 700 doesn't feel like it makes sense. With Herbert, yeah, it's in play, but I mean, we talked about one of Verderam's sneaky MVP candidates this year in Derek Carr, where in that division you have to throw so often because they're not going to stop anybody. And so, like, would I rather take somebody like Carr at like 20 or 30 to 1 versus somebody like Herbert at the top of that list? To me, I think that's a much better value bet. So I'd rather go with the field here as opposed to taking the two guys at the top of the odds board.
If I missed it because I just retweeted that you're on the show right now, Heist? What's the odds on Derek Carr right now? I love that play.
Carr last time I checked, I believe was either 20 to 1 or 30 to 1 over at WinBet. And I will try and see if I can get that exact number for you shortly.
No big deal. I mean, whatever it is, it's going to be a good number. I mean, if you're looking to take a flyer on something, right? Doesn't that that would excite me. I would like holding that ticket right now with Devontae coming in. Let's go, Derek Carr. Big year for the Raiders. Damn it. Uh, Verderam, thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, if I had to pick one person, it would be Derek Carr. For two reasons. He's got a lot of weapons, and they're giving up 30 points a game. So I would take the Raiders. Look, if there's anybody who's going to be chucking it 700 times this year, it's Derek Carr. I would take the field, obviously. Look, I think Carr's got a great shot to win a passing title. I always try to find those teams that are going to throw a lot and that aren't going to stop many people. Mahomes might also be in that conversation, especially early in the year. That defense, as young as it is, as inexperienced as it is, I could see a lot of pigskin flying around the Kansas City. So I would take the field. Stafford is another guy who I would throw in there as someone who could win a passing title. They have Allen Robinson now. So yeah, I would take the field. But if I had to take one guy, I actually think Derek Carr is an interesting play because I think he's going to throw the ball constantly.
I like this comment as we rewind back with Jalen Random, but whatever for me personally, as we all can see, I would much rather have the Chargers win a Super Bowl over the Bills as a Chiefs fan. Something about Bills fans I can't stand. Verderam, you hate Buffalo.
I'm conflicted because I love like the fans. I'll disagree with Jay on one thing. I think the fans in Buffalo are great fans. I can say I've always felt the fan base. They love their teams, and they've never been loved back. Like to go, but Carm is referencing a video that we did that was high comedy years ago. I forget what I initially did the video about, but it was something about different cities or something. I honestly don't remember. But
you took a run at Buffalo
right,
online.
yes. I ended up saying that Buffalo is just there's no there essentially with Buffalo. I've been to Buffalo many times. I went to college a few hours away from it. It's just look. I love the people, but the city itself, yeah, it's just cold in August. Like there's just it's. Like, I don't know of anyone who's like, you know what I really want to do? I want to take a vacation to Buffalo. Now, that said, I will say in the years since I've come around on one thing. I think the people are great, and and the fan base is top notch because it's easy to be a fan of the Patriots the last 20 years. Okay, you're a Bills fan. As a Knicks fan, I get it. You're in nothing but deep pain most of your life, and yet you've overcome. And to sit outside in Buffalo, New York in January and December, you are a true fan. That's no joke. You're not sitting there drinking a pina colada watching the Bills in December. Okay, so you got to give them all the credit in the world there. So I'm actually on their side. I would be very happy for Bills fans if they won. They deserve it. I quickly. So like a week ago, I was arguing about how much I love Martin Brodeur as a Devils goaltender, retired Devils goaltender. I think he's the best goaltender of all time. I'll fight anybody on this. Many, many, many Buffalo Sabres fans were irate over this and felt Dominic Hasek is not even in the same argument as Brodeur, that he's better. And I would argue he's also not in the same argument. He's just not as good. And so I got very involved with this, and I thought about, like, why are they so passionate about this? Like, who really cares? I'm a football guy who has an opinion. And then I realized, and I don't mean this as a dig, it's just serious. The Sabres have existed for over 50 years. I defy even most hockey fans to name 5 legitimate, like, legendary players that have ever played for the Buffalo Sabres. There's nothing to be happy about.
Okay. I mean, I couldn't tell you one player that's playing in the Stanley Cup Finals right now, if we're
You're a
being
terrible
honest.
person.
I couldn't.
I am going
Not,
to Ruth Chris. The hell with you.
and
Good final too.
let
It
let
is.
alone let alone.
Disappointed.
Heist, do you know my radio history with Buffalo? I don't think you do. It's a good one though.
I feel like you were going to take a job and
You
then
do know it.
you
You do know it.
passed. I'm trying. It's
So
been a
I
while.
so
Been a
I
hot
had
minute.
I had to get out because there was changes going on at the radio station that I was working with back in Chicago. So I'm looking for any opportunity to get on the air, and like I literally was going to take anything, and I got offered $200 a week to go to whatever the station was in Buffalo to like do updates and whatever the hell else they were going to have me doing, but it was going to put me on the air. And I'm like, I really don't know if I can live in a city that only cares about football and hockey. No baseball, no basketball, 200 a week. I got to learn the Buffalo Sabres. I was having a heart attack, but I would have taken it. I think I really would have if that was my only option. And then I get there, and program director by the name of Andy Roth, that everybody in radio knows, was like, I don't have anything for you. Actually, we're going to go internal, but I know a guy in Kansas City who might. So why don't you call up Ryan McGuire and see if he'll hire you to go to 610? And then me and Heist both
I knew
ended up
this
with.
was a familiar story. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that was I
Man,
nearly was in Buffalo Verderame for 200 a week.
I would. That's the pitch. I would have paid good money to seeing you have to break down the Buffalo Sabres.
Oh,
Almost like
I
I would have paid real money for that.
the best part of this story to me is the come up for Carm. He goes from
Yeah,
an offer to make $200 a week in Buffalo
live
to
in a
paying for
box
Roots
essentially.
Chris for Verderam for losing an NBA Finals bet. Like,
That's right.
look at this meteoric rise.
Meteoric. I was falling forward for a while. It was great. You're not getting this one, but why don't you try Kansas City? They got the Chiefs, and they got a sweet college hoop environment. You got the Royals. Yeah, it sucks for you, Con. We know you love the NBA, but that's okay. You'll still do a LeBron James announcement special. That'll be the highest rated show in the history of sports talk radio in Kansas City. Still got fired.
Not that you're counting.
Never mind. Got 20s. Okay, so
We
let's
might
move.
have passed it, but that's a
No,
conversation
it's
for
this
another
one.
day.
This one doesn't bother me. All right, rushing yards versus the field. Henry, Taylor, both sitting in the 500, plus 500 for Taylor. Derrick Henry plus 550. Uh, what do you got here, Heist? Trying to move this along here as we're coming up on an hour.
Yeah, what Henry, I know that the volume will likely be there, but I think we finally saw what a lot of us had been expecting over the last several years, which was after getting to that 2000 mark, at some point your body is just going to slow you down. And even somebody as beastly as Henry, I just don't see that type of ability to sustain without getting hurt along the way, the type of volume and brutality that his body has suffered. With Taylor, too, like running back is just such a volatile position. If you look at the stats, yeah, he outrushed everybody by almost 600 yards last year. But you also look at somebody like Nick Chubb, who's available at 8-1, Najee Harris at 10-1. Again, I think I'm going with the field here, even though Taylor and Henry, purely from a rushing yards output, are going to get more than enough carries to get there. I just think it's such a volatile position that it's hard for me to go with the favorite when I know it's just like choosing a fantasy team, right? If you're taking the running back, you feel like that guy has to play at least 14, 15 games for you to be successful. And I just don't know if I can go in with that low of a number to feel like it's going to be like it's going to work out. So I think Najee Harris probably is the guy that I like the most entering his second year. Pittsburgh isn't gonna they're gonna have to rely on the run a lot more. They've improved their offensive line. I think out of all of them, that's probably my favorite at 10-1.
Let me give you a sneaky one. Although I actually would go the other way here. I would take Taylor. Um, I just think that's just the way they're built. They're gonna pound the ball a million times over, even with Matt Ryan. I'll give you a sneaky one that this might look really stupid, but it would be like the ultimate flyer bet. Raheem Mostert in Miami. They are going to run the ball nonstop, and that guy, when he got a chance in San Francisco, could play. Like, I wouldn't go betting like serious money, but
That's a 100-1 bet for him. That would be a hell of a payday
yeah,
if
Where
you
like
were
I'd
to
throw like $10 on that and just say, look, he just has one of those like one-off years where he gets 280 carries, and goes for 1,300 yards, and then that's it.
It's
But
like his Peyton Hillis year, and he gets on the cover of
yeah,
Madden
like
the next year.
you know he's going to be the lead back there. You know they're going to run the ball like crazy. They have a good defense, so theoretically they should be like involved in games where they can run, and they're going to do everything in the world to take the pressure off of Tua. So you're also going to see a lot of too high out in Miami because of Hill and Waddle. So you're not gonna have a stacked box. I got that in there, and I think we're going to see Mostert have a very good year. So at 100-1, yeah, I'd throw down $10 on that.
what's the odds on David Montgomery, Heis?
He is 40-1.
Okay.
David Montgomery to lead the NFL in rushing this year. I From a volume play, Carm, I get it, but are you confident enough that the Bears offensive line is going to be able to help him? And especially if they're putting 7, 8 guys in to try to slow
Th-
down Fields, could that be an issue too?
that would be the biggest issue, and also to the way Verderam's lining things up here. The Bears are probably not going to be leading in a lot of football games, so I don't think they're just going to be ground and pounding their way here. Although maybe they will do that even when they're down 3 touchdowns because they don't want to get Justin Fields killed and they want to continue to elevate his confidence and not put everything on his plate. But I do think David Montgomery is going to have his best year as a pro this year. I think this particular regime is going to figure out even better ways to use him. So just a name to throw out there. All right, receiving yards: Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, both in the 700s. Kupp at 700 plus 700, Jefferson plus 750.
Yeah,
I would think you're fading Kupp just because of the Allen Robinson acquisition, but go ahead.
yeah, I think Jefferson is the play for me at 8-1. I love his ability, especially with Adam Thielen likely taking another slow step down. You have a very passing oriented new head coach in Minnesota taking over for Mike Zimmer. I just think they're going to unleash Jefferson, and it's crazy to think that somebody of his caliber maybe hasn't even reached his true potential yet after just monster seasons. Had 1,600 yards last year. If you look at the numbers, Jefferson would have led the NFL in receiving yards if not for Cooper Kupp, who had he had 1,947. It was targeted 167 times. It's probably Kirk Cousins last year in Minnesota. He'll, as long as he stays healthy. To me, this is somebody that is on the field consistently, that's winning one-on-one matchups, and that's going to have a very proactive downfield approach with the play action that's helped Cousins be successful. In whatever sort of limited capacity you want to rule Kirk Cousins as a successful quarterback, but the numbers have been there. Like he's put up really good numbers. A lot of it might be empty calories, but if you're looking at receiving yards, I think Jefferson, even near the top of the list, is probably the play for me.
You go a lot of different ways. I take the field. There's just so many really good receivers that I just by odds I would go that way. I mean, like Adams is going to get a ton of balls in Vegas, although obviously they have other weapons. They'll spread it out. Diggs is always a guy to watch. Obviously someone who's clearly the best player on his team. I'll give you a flyer, and again, this isn't like one of those things where I go all in, but Terry McLaurin in Washington, like especially in a contract year, he's going to get the ball a lot. And I know they have Jahar Dotson. I understand all that. And I'm not anyone who's listened to this podcast for about 10 minutes knows how I feel about Carson Wentz. But McLaurin is a really good player. And that team is a team that I think could be trailing some. Look, I don't know. Dotson is a rookie. Like, is he going to really take away a bunch of targets? So Allen Robinson intrigues me. I mean, I can't put him ahead of Cup, but I do think he's intriguing. Hopkins is off the board because of his suspension. Um, Metcalf is a non-factor because they have no quarterback. But yeah, I would take the field, but if I had to go one way or the other with Jefferson and Cup, I think Jeff play because I agree with O'Connell. They're going to throw the ball up.